I was about to take the first sip of my Saturday morning coffee when the ground started humming beneath my feet. Not a rumble, not a boom, but that low, bratting growl that you feel in your ribs before your brain even catches up. And right then I knew this wasn't just a passing truck or a heavy gust of wind. It was an earthquake in Arizona. Now, mind you, it wasn't the big one or anything. I didn't lose walls or windows, but it was enough to rattle the neighborhood. And more importantly, it rattled something in me. See, I've always been a bit of a prepper, not the bunker and canned beans kind, more like spreadsheets, maps, and laminated flowcharts. My wife calls me logistics guy. I once made a binder to organize our junk drawer. That's who I am. So when the quake hit and the dust settled, I didn't feel fear. I felt purpose, like I had a role to play. And the moment I turned on the TV and saw footage from the old downtown area, buildings collapsed, streets buckled, people picking through rubble, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I turned my driveway into a disaster relief depot. Fold-out tables, labeled bins, color-coded signage. I sent a message to our HOA group thread letting everyone know if you've got water, canned food, clothes, anything you can spare, drop it off. I'll deliver it downtown. I figured maybe 10 or 12 people would pitch in. We had 50 donors by lunch. People came and waved, retired couples bringing sleeping bags, teens with backpacks full of socks and power banks. One guy even donated 20 gallons of gas and military-grade cans. It was beautiful. My driveway was buzzing with life, kindness, noise, and purpose. It felt like the kind of America we all miss. The kind where people show up. But of course, not saw everyone saw liked it. That afternoon, I saw her, Carol Peterson, HOA president. Hair so tight you'd think she used spray starch. She didn't stop or say hello. She just drove by, slow, like a shark circling a lifeboat, then disappeared. I didn't think much of it, figured maybe she was just being her usual standoffish self. The next morning, I found it taped to my garage door, a plastic laminated violation notice, written in bold Comic Sans like an insult to typography itself. It said I was in breach of community Sewell Harmony standards, and that unsanctioned charitable operations required prior HOA board review. I actually laughed, thought it was a joke. Spoiler, it wasn't. Carol showed up later that day in person, wearing a blazer like she was chairing a congressional hearing. She didn't ask me how the donation drive was going, didn't care about the pallets of diapers or the bags of medical supplies. She just opened her HOA rulebook like it was a sacred text and said, "This isn't a sanctioned active tie. You're disrupting the character of our neighborhood." I asked her if she'd seen the news, if she knew people were still without power, still sleeping in their cars downtown. She blinked at me and said, "That's not our jurisdiction." I kid you not, those were her exact words. She called the cops on me. Now, to be fair, the officers were decent. They didn't want to be there, but they explained that the HOA's CIVYL covenants were technically binding, and if I kept operating the depot, Carol could pursue legal action. I didn't want to make trouble for anyone else on the block, so I shut it down. We packed up everything. The tables, the boxes, the handwritten signs. My driveway went quiet again, and as Carol walked away, she looked back and smirked, like she'd won. But see, what she didn't realize was that I saw paperwork. She came at me with bylaws. I came back with permits. Within 72 hours, I'd filed every form, pulled every string, and activated every favor I'd been owed since high school marching band. I contacted my old college roommate, now a city engineer, who connected me with the permitting office. Then I called in the big guns. 3 cranes. Full size. Full permits. Legal to operate for flagpole installation and roof inspection. I timed it perfectly, just in time for HOA quiet hours. The first crane arrived with a flashing escort, rumbling up our cul-de-sac like a Jurassic Park beast. The second one followed 20 minutes later, blocking off Carol's prized rose garden. And the third? Parked right across from her driveway. The neighborhood looked like a construction zone from a Transformers movie. Carol came out screaming, "What is the meaning of this? I said, real calm, just performing some totally legal flagpole upgrades. You know, within my rights as a homeowner. She threatened to call the cops again, but this time I saw them. When they arrived, I handed the sergeant every form, stamp, and signature. He flipped through the folder, nodded, and said, "Yup, it's all legal." Then he gave Carol a look that said, "You dragged me out here for this?" And the best part? We didn't install a massive flagpole. Nope. We put up a 6-foot aluminum pole with a novelty flag that read, in bold capital letters, "Approved." It waved gently in the breeze for 2 full days while the cranes idled and beeped and whirred. Carol lost her mind. She tried to rally the board, but by then, the neighbors had had enough. Turns out a lot of them wanted SAW to help the relief effort, but had been scared of crossing her. Now, they were just embarrassed that our whole community was the reason a local donation depot had been shut down. Dave, one of our saner board members, called an emergency HOA meeting. It was standing room only. People came with lawn chairs and soda. A vote was held. Carol was out, unanimously. The very next morning, Carol and her husband Stan shuffled over to my front porch, red-faced and apologetic. They offered due law $5,000 from HOA funds to support the relief effort and asked humbly if we could move the depot to the school gym instead. I shook their hands. No hard feelings. I just asked if they'd help lift boxes this time. They did. We reopened the depot that weekend at the gym, and this time, it was even bigger. Local news showed up. One of the volunteers told a reporter, "It all started with one guy's driveway and 3 cranes." Nowadays, the HOA has a new rule, what they call the common sense clause. It says in emergencies, people are allowed to act like humans saw first and rule followers second. Dave's the new president. Carol quit the board entirely. I still wave to her when she walks her dog and she waves back, but it's more like a nod of surrender than a smile. And the flagpole? Still standing. Still has that approved flag waving on the weekends. Just a gentle reminder that sometimes the best way to handle power-hungry pettiness is with just the right mix of legality and theater. So tell me this, what would you have done if your HOA shut down a Quake relief effort? Was I being too dramatic? Or just dramatic enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you've ever had to outsmart a petty tyrant, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the front lines of suburban absurdity, because around here, justice comes in the form of steel cables, safety harnesses, and one very small flag.